It's the WaitingForNextYear.com podcast. This time, this episode, I have the creator of I was going to call it a variety show, a musical. It's comedy. It's comedy from the easiest of all comedic sources, our own Cleveland Browns. Tim Tyler from Dawg Pounded. How's it going, Tim?
Oh, it's going great, Craig. How are you?
So I assume I'm great. I assume you didn't have too much trouble finding some comedy in the misery that is or has been the Cleveland Browns.
No, in fact, last year we were saying, and during the off season we were saying, man, this play is writing itself, with the shenanigans that the Browns were going through. So yes, we have a great font of material.
So this isn't the first year you've done the show. How many years have you been doing it now?
This will be the second year. Last year was our first year, and we kind of did it, with a little trepidation, not knowing how people would react to it, and they reacted to it very well. They took it the way we did, therapy for Browns fans. You got to laugh about this, or you'll go crazy.
Browns fans and Cleveland sports fans in general don't seem to mind laughing at themselves. They just don't like it when outsiders do it.
Exactly. If the Steeler had written this play, I don't think it would be taken that well.
No. So did you get a chance to add any of Kyle Shanahan or any of the texting stuff between years?
Yeah, we've got a parody song in there. It's a parody of 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover by Paul Simon. It's called 32 Ways to Leave Your Contract. So that's a Kyle Shanahan reference there.
I don't know if I should laugh or cry, but...
Go ahead, whatever you want to.
So before we went on the air, we were talking about the fact that so many Indians fans headed to Pittsburgh this weekend to watch the Tribe. It's much more difficult to go to Pittsburgh to watch football, I would imagine. You said it was pretty friendly to Tribe fans. You were in attendance?
Yes, I was there. It was very friendly. Everybody was wearing their Wahoo hats and their Cleveland Indians jerseys, and there were no fist fights, no catcalling, no derogatory remarks made. So it was pretty nice. I wish, the football games would be that nice too, but it's not. It's do or die when they get to football.
Yeah, why do you think that is? Obviously the Pirates are in a different league. They're in the National League instead of the American League. But even when Indians fans go to Detroit, there's just something about the stakes of an NFL season that it gets really brutal and nasty. Is it just the drunkenness?
No, you know what? When I was a young man, there was no Pittsburgh-Cleveland rivalry because Cleveland won every year. Then in the 70s, it kind of switched, and Pittsburgh had their 4 Super Bowls in a row, and now they were king of the hill, and suddenly we had a do-or-die rivalry because Pittsburgh fans were giving it to us all the time. And it has evolved, towards that, nastiness. But, one of these days we're going to come back, and it's going to be a rivalry again. Last year it started to approach that with that 31-10 thumping we gave them, at the stadium. But it's coming back, I predict. One of these days they're not going to have a great quarterback like they've had, all these years, and we're going to compete with them, and they're going to get a taste of what it's like.
It'd be nice if the Browns could add a quarterback rather than just waiting for Pittsburgh's to retire. But I'm with you.
Yeah, I know. Well, we got to take what we can get, right?
Yeah. So
one of these days, huh?
Go ahead. No.
I was going to say one of these days, Roethlisberger is going to retire, and I don't think they're going to have an easy time replacing that guy. He's pretty special among quarterbacks. You could hit him with a tank, and the tank would fall down. So
yeah, it pains me. It pains me to say it. Tell me a little bit though. You've obviously been around for a few more of the rivalries and a few more of the years than I have. Do you think that the culture has gotten nastier between the different fan bases? Does it manifest itself in different ways because of the modern technology? Or is it? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder where it all came from.
I've heard this from Pittsburgh fans themselves. They say that their big rival now is the Ravens. They don't really consider the Browns a big rival anymore. Their big rival is the Ravens because they're always fighting for the AFC North year in and year out. So I think that will turn around very quickly once we start beating them twice a year like they're doing to us.
Yeah. So all of your experience as a Browns fan kind of culminates into writing a show, and you said you were nervous about how it was going to be received initially, but still you managed to kind of silo yourself and write this whole thing. And how tell us a little bit about what it was like to pull it all together, to write the script and then pull it all together in terms of finding a cast and really, it's no easy task to pull a show together like this.
Well, it all started, I was visiting a friend in Colorado Springs and I had 3 hours in an airplane, and I decided I was just going to write whatever came to mind. And that year, I was, really depressed by the Browns. They were getting nowhere. They were going to end up 4-12 again. And so I just started writing about the Browns, and it was like one voice was talking, complaining about the Browns, and then a second voice came in and started agreeing with the first voice. So those became my two characters, Paul and Otto. And then I said, well, they've got to have some conflict, something. They can't agree with each other the whole play. So that's where Pittsburgh Pete came in. Pittsburgh Pete is their nemesis. He's a transplanted Pittsburgher that loves to harass and taunt Cleveland Browns fans. So that was the genesis of it, and then I just took it from there, and I thought it could use some music. It could use some parody songs to bring out the true humor. So I started writing a bunch of parody songs, and it took off from there. A year ago, we had an audition, and we found a lot of talent in Cleveland. There's a lot of good singers and dancers and theater people, actors. So we got a really good group together, and we had 10 performances down at Kennedy's in Playhouse Square, and we sold out all 10, and the response has been great. It's not a bashing of Cleveland Browns or the Cleveland Browns fans. It's more, a therapeutic kind of thing where we, like you said, we can laugh at ourselves. We just don't want other people making fun of us,
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty much how the play came about.
Well, and anybody who wants information on tickets, you can. It opens July 17th at Kennedy's on Playhouse Square. You can get tickets at playhousesquare.org. You can find out all the information you need at dawgpounded.com. I also found Dawg Pounded just by searching Dawg Pounded on Facebook, so you can find their stuff there as well.
Yeah,
I want to talk more about, obviously you wrote in the character Pittsburgh Pete, and that's gonna resonate with a lot of Cleveland Browns fans, especially living in this city where it seems like no matter where you go, especially Walmart, you're going to find Steeler jerseys everywhere. What is it? What is it about a Steelers fan? And I've seen this where they would actually wear a Steelers jersey to a Cavs game. It's just like,
oh yes,
intentionally antagonistic for no benefit whatsoever.
That is so true. And I don't want to say they're arrogant, but they're arrogant. Well, they've got the 6 Super Bowls. We call them in the plays. They've got 6 NFL championships, and the Browns have 4 NFL championships. So we're not that far behind them. We've just never gotten that Super Bowl pastiche around us like they have. So once we get to a Super Bowl, once we win a couple or 3 or 4, we will have caught up with them, I believe, and it will be on equal footing after that. But right now, I see them walking downtown all the time in their Steelers jerseys. And what can you say? Hey, you guys suck? No, they don't suck. They got 6 Super Bowls, the most of any team. So we just have to bite our tongues and wait it out.
Speaking of waiting it out, I do want to talk to you a little bit about current events and the team coming into this year. Once all the Kyle Shanahan stuff and the non-football embarrassment type things dissipated this year, you kind of look back at last season and you don't feel so bad about the progress that the Browns made, and it seems like they've maybe improve the roster a little bit. What do you think about this year's Browns and their more difficult schedule? I mean, do you have any hope that this might be one of those magical years where they kind of make a slightly bigger jump and actually contend for the playoffs?
Well, here's the way I see it. I like Pettine as a coach. I want to give him another few years to develop something. I think he's on the right track. I love the draft this year. I saw them picking solid players. They weren't glitzy. They weren't glamorous picks, but they were just what we needed. This is the way Chuck Noll started building the dynasty in Pittsburgh. His first year, he was 1-13, and he found a defensive tackle from North Texas State or something, Mean Joe Green, and he found this quarterback from Louisiana Tech by the name of Terry Bradshaw. So he wasn't going for glitz and glamour. He was going for solid players. I think that's what we're doing now. I see our defense improved quite a bit so that we're going to be in a lot of games that we shouldn't be in, but I just don't think we're going to pull it off. So we will lose a lot of 24-20 games or 17-14 games. That's the way I see it going this year, but we're putting a lot of good pieces into place. So sorry, Browns fans, but we will have to wait till next year before we see anything, momentous happen. But I think we're on the right track, definitely.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. It's hard to say. I hope you're wrong. I hope that they pull out a couple of those games that maybe it feels like today they shouldn't pull out, but it's just really hard. Right. It's really hard, even as they build up the offensive line and the running backs and they improve the wide receivers. I don't know why people are underselling how much they improve their wide receivers year over year. But it does. You just have a tendency to always come back to McCown and just kind of
right.
Put your head in your
right.
hands.
I know. I would love for them to overachieve this year. Like I believe they kind of overachieved last year when they were 7-4, and then reality set in. But I think it's going to be a fun season. It won't be necessarily in the one-loss record, but it will be seeing progress made on the field with these young players.
How much stock do you put in that? How much stock do you put in that strength of schedule thing where they say last year was an easy schedule and this one's a hard one? It seems to me that with injuries and injury rates the way they go, you just never know. And there are so many variables. You can't actually know what a strong or a weak schedule actually looks like until the end of a year. Yeah,
because I don't even know how Seattle's going to be next year, and we're playing them out there. How good are they going to be? And Arizona and St. Louis. I mean, these are a big question marks. These are teams, maybe we can compete with them. Who knows?
Well, the perfect example of that right now in the NFL is probably San Francisco. They were in the Super Bowl. I'm not even sure if they're a good team right now.
I know. They've lost everything. Their coach and this and that. Yeah, it's quite a turnaround for the 49ers, and to think they were right on the brink of beating the Ravens for the Super Bowl.
Do you think they trade Colin Kaepernick? I'm asking for a friend.
Wow, I don't think so. I think unless they get a really sweet deal, like about 12 players and 20 draft picks, maybe they'll do it then. But I don't know. He's an essential part of their offense, And as we know, if you got a quarterback, that's half the battle, right?
Yeah, well, and even if your quarterback is just slightly above average, you gotta pay him like he's the best quarterback in the world, like the Ravens did.
Yeah, exactly.
That's man. It just the quarterback thing just feels like purgatory some days. When you're sitting and you're saying, if we only had Andy Dalton, you want to. It's like a fate worse than death.
Hey, can I fantasize a little bit here? My nephew played at Miami of Ohio. He was a tight end, and his quarterback was a guy by the name of Ben Roethlisberger. So I would go down and I would watch this young Roethlisberger kid play, like, college football. And I was watching Cardale Jones, in the playoff run for Ohio State.
Cardale Jones, yeah.
He looks like a young Roethlisberger. He's got the same build. He's got the same rocket arm. He's got, he's a tough guy to bring down. He can stand in the pocket and, wait for somebody to come open. And I think maybe this would be, like a dream draft choice, but somehow if we could finagle, if Cardale, continues to develop as well as he has, and he's available, and the Browns can somehow trade for a draft pick to get him, I mean, that'll just turn it around instantly, I think. I'm a dreamer, though. I'm a fantasizer. I live in my own fantasy world, Greg. So
I know. I still can't believe Cardale Jones didn't come out into the draft this year. I think he really missed an opportunity.
Yeah, because his stock can only go down from now, right?
But that's so many people's perfect scenario where they see a guy and they see him every Saturday and they project him to play on Sunday, and sometimes it goes a little bit crazy where some Browns fans would like every Ohio State player, including like everybody with the last name Boren, to play for the Browns on Sundays. But it's really much easier when you see a guy with a magical physical tool set, like Cardale Jones had. I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you for playing the Buckeyes on Sunday.
It would be nice.
Yeah. So just to remind everybody, I'm talking to Tim Tyler, the person behind who came up with, wrote, and who do you play? You play in this, right?
No, I just sit on the sidelines and watch. I'm the Mike Pettine of Dawg Pounded.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you had a role. I was hoping people could see you singing and dancing and doing all that kind of stuff, or drinking your sorrows away.
Yeah, right. I'm not that talented.
All right. Well, Dawg Pounded is a show. It opens July 17th. Some music, some comedy, all about the Browns at Kennedy's in Playhouse Square. You can get tickets at playhousesquare.org. You can find out more information at dawgpounded.com. And as I said, you can search Dawg Pounded on Facebook. There's some videos on YouTube if you want to go check out a little snippets here and there ahead of time. And man, good luck with the show. I'm happy you got a second year, and hopefully I can make it out to see one this year, and I'll be able to talk about it. We're sending a writer out to check it out though. So
okay,
Will Gibson should have some more at the website just for the audience listening. After,
all right,
unless it stinks, then he won't review it at all.
Well, that's a chance you got to take, That's why they play the game, You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for talking about all these Cleveland Browns memories and your show, man. Good luck with it.
All right. Well, thanks for all your help, Greg. I appreciate it.
All right. Until next time, everybody, thanks for listening. This has been the WaitingForNextYear.com podcast.
Waiting for next year.